Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and thank you for networking this information to all those you know and love. Our goal is to empower as many people as possible through the information that we provide. Obviously, the information we provide is 180 degrees different from anything and everything you get in through the bought-off lamestream fake media. And the reason it is so divergent is because, well, we focus on truth, facts, data, and when needed, the science to put you ahead of the globalist constructed curve that ends in a brick wall with the shattering of your future, your life, your freedom, your liberty, and our constitutional republic. I think the one big fallacy in the freedom movement is too many people underestimate how sinister and, with a capital E, evil our adversaries are in the globalist cult. The deep state, the criminal banking syndicate, the New World Order crowd, the globalist syndicate, the shadow government, it's all the same. And our adversary, when you boil it all down, globalism is based on communism, on totalitarianism, on a freedom-stripping agenda that has a very small number of people, 0.1% of the world's population, is the haves. And the rest of us fall into the category of the have-nots. Today's presentation is Just Say No. Just Say No, Nancy Reagan, Channel Nancy Reagan. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie Reagan, you need to. It's fantastic. Having been there at the end of the Reagan administration to work on healthcare policy as a consultant, I can tell you the depiction of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan as the people who they were that I witnessed was the best presented in that movie. Very inspirational movie. One that the globalists cannot be happy about because it actually focuses on Ronald Reagan's targeted policies at oppression, taking out oppression, pushing freedom. As I've always told you, the freedom-oppression axis is the key. Right, left is nothing but theater. That was taught to me by Ronald Reagan. But we're at a crossroads. And Elon Musk recently said, and I agree with him, I've never been materially active in politics before, but this time I think civilization as we know it is on the line. That's right. Because there is this huge Marxist, communist, globalist, all the same, push to strip you of your freedoms and your liberties and your future and your life. And here in the United States, our constitutional republic. Musk went on, if we want to preserve freedom and a meritocracy in America, then Trump must win. He is our best option at this point when it comes to freedom. I know. Love him or hate him. But the bottom line is, when you compare him to the alternative, Harris and Walz, there's no question. In fact, on that issue, Musk again, about Kamala Harris, quote, Kamala Harris is quite literally, he said, quote, a communist. Now, that's not name-calling. That's just factually based. Because if you go through Kamala Harris's career and what she has, I know, word salad galore, it's still occurring. When you get through the word salad, she keeps saying about equal outcomes. That's very different than equal opportunity, which is key. There should be equal opportunity across the board. But equal opportunity does not lead to equal outcomes. And that's where meritocracy comes in, that Musk spoke about in that first quote. No, when you come right down to it, Kamala Harris didn't fall far from her daddy's tree, who is a card-carrying communist. And I mentioned this years ago with Kamala Harris. When you trace her family back and go back to Jamaica, quite the family tree. Her daddy's dad in Jamaica was one of the largest slave owners. Talk about oppression. So Kamala's daddy didn't fall far from his daddy's tree, right? Look it up. Search it. You're not going to find it on, the usual platforms, but it's there. It's all documented. And we're at a crossroads in this country. I know every election, it's the most important election of our... Well, this one, I think the one in 2016 was huge. The one in 20, obviously. Right. Fraud, in a word. And anyone tells you any different has not an analytical gene in their body. But this one, this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back into the oppression agenda if it's lost. From Zero Hedge, President Trump vows to end Marxist crusade aimed at abolishing suburbs, which also targets small and medium-sized businesses, the middle class. Because in communism, there is no middle class. There's the upper crust, the 0.1%, and then there's everybody else who has equal outcomes of misery. From Zero Hedge, 4 years ago, former President Trump warned suburban Americans that radical leftists within the Biden-Harris administration were pushing policies that could eventually, quote, abolish the suburbs, end quote. At the time, far-left corporate media outlets mocked Trump, dismissing his warnings as outlandish. Fast forward to today, and over 10 million, or actually 20 million, unvetted illegal aliens have had the red carpet rolled out to them by far-left globalists that have a D after their name, and some R's. With some bust to rural areas and suburban neighborhoods has sparked violent crime, chaos, and exacerbated a housing crisis in places like Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio, and Charlotte, Pennsylvania. Circling back to Trump, he continued to call out the Marxist crusade against suburbs, against small business and medium-sized business, against the middle class, that Harris, if elected as president, would most likely continue because those policies were inherent in the policies put forward by Biden and Harris and all the totalitarian thugs around them. And let's not forget Obama and all this, right? But remember, problem. A lot of people say, Obama's calling all the shots. Stop it. He's a middle-level puppet. Upper middle level, Joe's lower middle level, so is Kamala. But Obama is handled by Valerie Jarrett. Valerie Jarrett is handled by the banking syndicate. The banking syndicate is handled by the banking families. Should we give you their names again for the 1,000th time? Why not? Because other people refuse to do it. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Lazards, the Pinkuses, the Warburgs, the Seifs, the Loebs, and the very top of the pyramid, the Payseur, Payseur family. Circling back to Trump, he continued to call it the Marxist crusade against suburbs, medium, and small-sized businesses, middle class, that will continue if Harris and Walz are elected. Quote, Trump, finally, I will save America's suburbs by protecting single-family zoning. The radical left wants to abolish the suburbs by forcing apartment complexes and low-income housing into the suburbs right next to your beautiful house, end quote. I will end this Marxist crusade, end quote. And part of their crusade is this inflation environment they have created. Remember, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote on multi-trillion-dollar bills that led to the printing of huge amounts of dollars. Well, how is that correlated with inflation? Well, if we go back to Milton Friedman, the Nobel Prize winning economist, he taught us that inflation occurs when you have too many dollars chasing too few goods. Over the past 3.5 years, trillions of dollars have been created out of thin air through the passage of this legislation pushed by Comrade Biden and Comrade Harris. That she was the tie-breaking vote on in the Senate on both of those multi-trillion-dollar spending bills that led to the flooding of dollars into the system with no increase in goods and services, therefore inflation. So when you go to the grocery store, or you go to the gas station, or you go buy some clothes, or you pay your rent, or you pay your insurance bills, and you go, wow, this is really high. Understand who caused it. Comrade Biden and Comrade Harris and all the other little comrade dweebs around him. And it's destroyed. Not only their border policy that's led to the, and we love legal immigration, it's illegal immigration, unvetted people that are coming in this country and causing havoc by design. It's not an accident, it's not a coincidence, it's not from incompetence, it's by design. It's about overwhelming the system and dissolving it. Cloward Piven. Remember those lovelies from Columbia University? The Cloward Piven strategy of chaos? There you go. It's destroying. Willfully destroying businesses, communities, the suburbs. I want to tell you a story. I related this on the radio not too long ago, but I want to bring it forward on a video because we have separate audience. There's some crossover, but there's pretty divergent audiences here. There is, I spend some time and have throughout my life in the southwest portion of Michigan, which is different from where I'm at in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, which is southeast Michigan. Southwest Michigan is beautiful. Sand dunes on Lake Michigan, which if you've never seen a Great Lake, it's like an ocean. It's enormous. Beautiful. Wonderful people, farming communities, and the like. And in a particular community by the name of South Haven, there is a business that has been around for over 100 years. It's called Sherman's, and it's an ice cream dairy. Small business, medium-sized business, if you will. And I have been going to Sherman's ice cream operation, if you will. It's dairy. It was a dairy farm at one point before the kind of South Haven grew out to it. I think it was established in 1890. So well over 100 years, and the dairy came in very soon after that, and the ice cream products being produced by Grandpa Sherman in the early to mid 1900s. It's a staple of the community. It's a staple. You go to Sherman's ice cream store, and there is a huge line, always. Great place. And recently, an announcement came out that they were going to close. What? And granted, the prices that they've been charging have been going up significantly over the past 3-4 years. 3 years, 3.5 years. But that's because of the inflation that's willfully been created in the system by the comrades. So I was there recently, and I got there before their opening that day. I was waiting in my car, and I said, "Oh, I think it's time they opened." So I went to the window, and there was a young lady there, teenager. She said, "Oh, sir, we're going to open in about a half hour. Our hours have changed now that we're no longer on summer hours." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, I'll go wait in my car because I'm getting number of quarts of ice cream because I understand you're closing. I've been coming here for over 50 years. Some of my fondest childhood memories, some of my fondest memories with my parents and my aunts and relatives and buddies and my wife and kids and grandkids. I mean, why are you closing? And she looked at me and she started to cry. And she said, I really don't know why. But it appears we're closing because costs are so high. I went to my car and I was sitting there and a gentleman came out wearing a Sherman shirt. About my age. And I recognized him. And let's say he was one of the principals in Sherman's Ice Cream. And he was carrying out a trolley, and he knocked on my window. Roll it down. He goes, hey, and I told this girl that, spent 50 years here, and what a wonderful place. And I thanked her, and I said, everybody at Sherman's, for all that you've provided to my family, lifelong, priceless memories, and like. And he said, hey, if you go about 5 minutes, we'll open for you a little early. He goes, I appreciate what you said to the kids. And I said, well, it was very heartfelt. Your family, your Sherman's, has given us priceless memories over the years, plus great product. It's the best ice cream on the planet. I mean, it's the best, and I'm an ice cream addict. And I said, so why are you closing? And, excuse me, he watered up. He said, well, there are a lot of reasons. I go, well, you know what? I got some time before the window opens. Tell me. He said, well, we're fighting some huge costs. He goes, in 2023, with inflation, our costs went up. Our costs of doing business went up by 38%. When you add the price of the ingredient products for the ice creams, and they have a ton of different flavors, all fantastic. When you look at the labor costs, when you look at the taxes we have to pay, when you look at our utility costs, because they went up 38% in 2023. They went up this year 4% every month, which is another 24%. And he said, on the labor front, he goes, COVID changed everything. It's hard to get people to work. But he goes, we have such a long track record in this community. We take good care of our employees. He goes, right now, the starting kids, just starting, are getting paid $20 an hour to scoop ice cream. He goes, because I have to compete with Walmart and the other fast food chains. And he goes, they could make more money by going there and working, actually. But they come here because their buddies have worked here, or their parents or their aunts or uncles or their grandparents, or because it's a real social place to be. It's kind of the hub of the city, the town. But he goes, what really put us over the edge was what's happened with government. I go, really? I go, what are you talking about? He goes, well, these agencies come by and do inspections and everything. He goes, we always pass inspections. We're over beyond what they require even, with our refrigeration systems and our food products and the like. And we've never had a problem with the public health department or anything. And he said the problem is that before we even opened in March this year, the governor's office, Gretchen Whitmer, contacted us and said that they wanted to have a sit down with us, an inspection. And he said, okay, so we were fine, ready. He said, okay, we're available whenever you want. He goes, they showed up, and he goes, I was going to show them around, and they said, no, we don't need to see anything. And he said they went on to tell me that they had looked through the township, the city, the county records, in our facilities here, that we've had this land since 1890, and the buildings have been renovated, I believe he said 16 times over all those years. And they wanted to talk about electrical permits that they don't have documentation from 80 years ago when we did an addition, and 70 years ago, and 60 years ago, and 50 years ago. And because we had, he goes, this is a farming community. And he goes, so Farmer Al down Phoenix Street here had a kid, Ernie, who was really good at electrical. So Ernie would come over here 100 years ago and work on the electrical side. Because it's always been perfect, no problem, or whatever. And he goes, my grandpa's brother, who was good at plumbing, would go over to the other farm and help out Farmer Al's on the plumbing side. That's how it's done. But he goes, on our most recent stuff, the electrical permits, but from way back, we don't have a record of that. So the governor's office wants us to pretend like this is a new structure as of today being built. And even though, he goes, I offered to show them our electrical systems, our plumbing systems, our whatever they wanted, and no, they didn't. No, they just were interested in the paper side of it. So to do all that, it's going to cost us even more money, to the point where he goes, I could handle the labor increases, I can handle the ingredient increases, I can handle the insurance increases, I can handle the utilities increases. But when it comes to this, no. He goes, we're not getting any support from the city or from the township or from the county, and we're getting this from the state. I said, so when you announced this about a week ago, about this closing of the most hallmark business that brings in people from, seriously, there are people that come there from Chicago for the ice cream. I'm not kidding. Of course, why wouldn't you? I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago and on the south side of Chicago. Why wouldn't you want to leave that city based on the train wreck it is right now? But people come from all over for their ice cream and for the atmosphere of it. It's like going back in time. Families, 3 generations there at an evening in the same family. People sitting around talking on the picnic benches about what's happening in the town, what's happening in the state, what's happening in the country, what's happening in the world. You see, Sherman's ice cream is an existential threat to the communist totalitarian thugs that Trump was talking about. Because part of communism is destruction of the nuclear family. It's destruction of freedom. It's destruction of, in particular, free speech. Of people sitting around talking about, hey, what's going on? I mean, that's what the lockdowns were all about, right? That they love so much. Lock down. Listen to our propaganda. Don't talk to friends, families, neighbors. And this is not an accident. And this is not a coincidence. And this is not from incompetence. It's willful. It's willful. Small and medium-sized businesses, that's the engine of our economy, are evaporating. And it's all part of the plan. There are thousands of Sherman's ice cream places, not businesses, that have gone under in the past 3.5 years. 34%. Bankruptcies are up 34% in our country under Comrade Biden and Comrade Harris, and it's purposeful. And in particular, this business was targeted, I believe. Now, granted, their property is in a prime location. They got a lot of property. So it wouldn't surprise me if we actually find out that Walmart, globalist-run organization, or some other big operator, McDonald's, they have wonderful, nutritious food, don't they? Or McDonald's, or some other large entity that doesn't have a presence right near the highway and prime location said to the governor, Gretch, we know you're really tight with the Chinese and you got some nice little financial thing going, like with the battery plants and everything. Hey, Gretch, there's this big parcel of property and there's this ice cream store on it, and there are all these people that come there and they talk, right? They talk about what's wrong and what the problems are. Wouldn't it be nice if we found a way that, they went away and then we would buy their property at a premium. And you know what? And in so doing, we would make a hefty financial donation to your cause, whatever it might be. You think that could have occurred, that conversation? Yeah. I do. I think it's a distinct possibility. And what these people are all about are getting more power, more control, and more financial resources at the expense of you, me, of the middle class, of small and medium-sized businesses. They're all about rigging. That's what communism is all about, right? They rig the economy. They rig the legal system so it's a lawfare-based system, right? So they can punish their political opponents. They rig elections. They own and rig the media. They rig the border. They rig presidential protections so that their little rats that are marinated in hate over all the years get an opportunity to, turn people's heads into pink mist, or at least try. They rig debates. Like giving them the questions ahead of time and having 3-on-1s where the two moderators gang up and So what do? Well, one, you just say no. Just as Trump has said, to the Marxist crusade. You expose them. You talk. They don't want you talking. You talk to your friends and families about what's really going on. You support small and medium-sized businesses in your communities. You call them out. All those elected representatives that are not representatives, they're just puppets owned by the syndicate. You hold their feet to the fire. When they have their town halls, what are you doing? What are you doing about the safety and security of our community? What are you doing to make sure small and medium-sized local businesses prosper as opposed to get targeted? You go to the election board. What are you doing about these machines? What are you doing about the voter rolls? You go to the school boards. What are you doing about the curriculum so that our kids are ahead of the game as far as reading and writing and arithmetic? They want you locked down, self-imposed lockdown. They want you mute. They want you unengaged. The single greatest thing you can do for your kids, your grandkids, your future great-grandkids who are not even a glimmer in somebody's eye right now, is stand up for freedom and stop this Marxist crusade right here, right now. I thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com with extra shows, content, guests, analysis, archives to all of our shows. Information the cult, the Marxist cult, the comrades of the world don't want you to know about. But we put it all on the line on that website. Puts you months, years ahead of their curve that ends in a brick wall with the shattering of your freedoms, your liberties, your future, and your life. davejanda.com. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.